and welcome to the first video of the month. If you couldn't tell what month it was, it is October. Now I might dress as something spooky, but the video is not a spooky episode. So I am dressed appropriately for a intelligent and sophisticated film. And even though I'm not doing a Halloween movie just yet, I still wanted it to look a little Halloween, just for y'all's entertainment. Now mind you, I do look strange with the longer hair and the beard, and I look more like a behind-the-scenes manager for a wrestling show like WWE. It's like, we're gonna go out there, and we're gonna take them, and we're gonna crush them. So, to solve that problem, so I don't look so mangy, I have invested in some intellectual glasses to go with this review. So I hope you will find this review to be most appeasing. Shall we proceed? Yes, we shall. The Wife is directed by Bjorn Rung and is adapted from a book by Meg Wolitzer. And then it was adapted into a screenplay by Jane Anderson. This film stars quite a good cast. It stars Glenn Close as Joan Castleman. It stars Jonathan Pryce as Joe Castleman. Christian Slater as Nathaniel Bone, the reporter. Max Irons as David Castleman, the son of Joan and Joe. Annie Stark as a younger version of Joan Castleman. And Harry Lloyd as the younger version of Joe Castleman. The film introduces you to Joe and Joan Castleman, a loving couple with a grandbaby on the way. Early one morning, Joe, who is a renowned author, receives a phone call awarding him with the Nobel Prize in Literature. Now, while Joe is overwhelmed with joy and a sense of accomplishment, Joan is still and defeated. And then you follow these two as they prepare to go to Stockholm, Sweden to accept the award. And all the while, Joan seems quiet and distant and reserved and kind of sad. Now, Joe and Joan also have a son, David Castleman, who is also a writer. The dynamic between Joe and his son, David, is pretty harsh because Joe is quite the critic, as he is the author of the family. Now, throughout the film, the story breaks away from this primary plot and introduces you to a subplot, which is how Joe and Joan met. This breakaway happens multiple times, and each time you gain a little more information about their past, and why Joan isn't pleased with Joe's prize win. And while all this is going on, the reporter, played by Christian Slater, is tirelessly trying to pry into their lives and dig out any type of secret or juicy past of Joe to include in his biography. Now, the quality of cinematography wasn't anything special. It was very run-of-the-mill. The director liked to do handheld shots at the strangest times. There would be like just a normal shot of Joe walking from the podium after getting his prize, and it would be handheld and slightly shaky. But the music was fine, the tone was fine. It wasn't really anything where it was like, oh, this is super uneasy. I thought it was weird. I feel like it should have just been a still shot. Now, there was some unique choices in lighting for the young Joe and young Joan scenes. The room would be just like a living room, and they would have this interesting blue light just shining down from the ceiling, which makes absolutely no sense, but it looked really cool, and it was nice and subtle enough to where it kind of worked out. It reminded me a lot of how a stage play is lit. And honestly, I believe that could attribute stylistically to the fact that these are flashbacks of sorts. So I kind of liked it. Now, the soundtrack wasn't particularly memorable, and I only say that because I don't remember the soundtrack. It was mostly orchestral and symphonic, and that's all I know. I honestly can't say much about it, so I'm sure it did its purpose, which was to be background for the film. Now, the plot took some time to get into to really find its groove, but I never felt that that was a particular fault in the movie. Like, I liked the pacing, and I liked how everything unraveled at its own little pace, and I never felt bored or disinterested. And maybe that wasn't the plot that kept me interested, maybe it was just a testament to how well the acting was, which I will get to. And I will say I enjoyed the ending. I thought it was nice and just open-ended enough to where the audience had some room to play around with what was going to happen, but it wasn't so open-ended that you had no idea. Now, the acting was fantastic. And that's to be expected when Glenn Close is at the forefront of any film. She is a titan of the industry and never fails to entice the viewer with her performances. And honestly, I definitely got some Albert Nobbs vibes from this one with how her face was and how her character was developed. And Joan is a very still character with a lot of pain and resentment and pent-up regret and responsibilities, and it just oozes out of Glenn's face. Hey, it's Halloween, I can say oozes out of her face if I want to, if it sounds weird or gross. It's Halloween, so... She expressed her emotions quite effortlessly, how about that? But not only that, because she also has some fantastic scenes with Joe, and they escalate things, they raise the stakes, they get really intense, and it's all beautifully done. Their highs and lows and their performances are super good. Jonathan, who plays Joe, is so good at being this charismatic, really nice on the outside type of guy that's actually just like a huge douchebag on the inside. Like, he's super charming and he's subtly arrogant, and he also has affairs on the side. But you know, the guy can't keep the D and the P, if you know what I'm saying. The dick in the pants. The dick in the pants. Now, initially you'd think that Joe is like a really good dude, and that's what makes his character so interesting, because he's not. It's like he's a very likable person, but at his core, he's not a likable person, and he plays that off really well. Now, the son did a fair job. I felt like his characterization was a little too immature for my taste. I feel like he was around my age, like mid to late 20s, but he acted so childish, and he threw tantrums, and he would just be very sensitive to everything his father said. But on the other hand, I feel like this could also show the level of effect that his father's opinion of him has on him. Like, he looks up to his father so much, he wants his approval so bad that any small comment that's just not enough or just is a little off, he's going to take it to the heart. And you know, that's makes his character interesting, is just a little annoying at times. But maybe I'm in the wrong for thinking that, and maybe I'm just not seeing the character how they envisioned. Now, Christian Slater. I love Christian Slater. His performance as a reporter was great. He always brings so much fun and spirit and entertainment to his roles, and I just really like him. Now, his character is quite the snake, but he's also kind of likable. And I think that might just be because Christian Slater plays the role. I feel like if it was anybody else, it wouldn't be as charming and entertaining to watch. But maybe I'm just a douche and think that Christian Slater is the coolest guy around when really anybody could do the role. Can't say that with a straight face. Now, he's only in a handful of scenes, but his character pushes the plot so far forward, so hard, and he has such a major impact on how the film turns out. So the younger version of Joe and Joan did really well for their quieter, more charismatic and sensual scenes. I was impressed. You know, one of them played Viserys, I believe is how you say his name. I can't remember. I'm not going to look it up. On Game of Thrones, so we can already expect like a solid performance from him. Young Joan, I haven't really seen her in anything, so I didn't know what to expect. But yeah, they did really well for those quieter scenes. And then there's this one particular scene where it gets really emotional, and they're both at their highs, and they're like yelling, and they're passionate. And that's the problem, is they're like passionate and yelling, and it just seemed a little over the top and a little cheesy. And that was probably the only moment in the entire film where I was like, these performances feel a little immature. But other than that, they were great. Oh, and fun fact, the girl that plays young Joan is older Joan's daughter. That's right, Annie Stark is Glenn Close's biological daughter. For the entire film, I was super impressed by how uncanny the young Joan looked to the older Joan. And that's because they're actually related. That's one way to cast your roles, am I right? Am I right, guys? Am I right, girls? I'm alone. So yeah, overall I really liked this film. It was incredibly performed. The writing and the story was well fleshed out. It had good humor and a clear plot line. Now, there were some nitpicks that I personally had, like the music not being particularly unique, and the young Joe and Joan not doing too well in their high moments and raised stakes scenes. But really, that's about it. Although I would rate this a pretty Kino, I'm kind of getting tired of that rating system already. I feel like it's a little limited, but at the same time, I don't know. I'm just growing tired of it. So I'm going to take the reviewing system and place it in a trash bin, and then just tell you if I recommend the movie or not. Does that sound good? That sounds good to me. Like, do I recommend this movie, The Wife? Yes. Yes, I do. If you like realistic dramas with amazing performances and a subject matter that is interesting enough to keep you watching, then yes, I do recommend The Wife. That's it, it's official. The Wife, recommended. Isn't that much easier than, it's pretty Kino? Because if anybody comes into these videos and doesn't watch the Mandy review, they're gonna be like, what the fuck is a pretty Kino? Because I didn't even list the scale in the other videos. Yes, I recommend this film. Cool. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you liked it, leave a like down below. If you disliked it, leave a like down below. Because I want you to. Is that bad? If you would like to see more of me with your eyes, then subscribe as well. I make videos every once in a while. And you might even get to see some super interesting stuff like this dank set behind me. It's got Halloween, Halloween lights, Halloween tree. And whatever this is. This is not how I normally... Let's just lose the glasses. They're non-prescription and I hate them. So with that being said, I hope you all have a wonderful day or night, wherever you are, whoever you are. And I hope that you just remember this wonderful review, think about whether you want to see the movie or not, and take it easy. Is this scary? Is this a spooky thing that's happening? Is this something that makes you scream in the night? Blood on my face? Ooh, I'm a scary guy. I like Halloween. Look at me. Wow. I'm almost 29 years old, and I am very cool with the youngsters because I like blood. I like being a bloody guy on Halloween. October. Good Lord. There is something wrong with me. Something very wrong with me. But I spooked you, right?